And I'm Woifi.
How are you today?
Good. Was a long work day. 10 hours of work.
Nice.
Actually more. How was your day? How do you feel?
I'm also tired. It was a lot to do at work, and then when I came home, I studied. So, it was a lot today.
Can you talk a little quieter?
Yeah, I can actually.
Okay. Let's go a little closer to the microphone. I'm going to scratch my nose now.
Don't do that. That's going to annoy people.
We're doing some ASMR tonight.
Or not.
No, we're not.
Our topic for this episode is actually brought to you by my mother, because it was my mom's idea.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
When we did a podcast with her. When we did the episode with my mom.
Yeah.
How to lose a leg and still be cool as fuck. Was that what
That's
it's
a
called?
great episode if you haven't listened to that one yet.
After we stopped recording, she and I kept talking, and she had some ideas for episodes, and she thought about the relationship with pets.
Yeah.
That was her idea.
Oh, I didn't know that. That was her idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since we, I don't know, almost all of us, I guess, I assume, or a lot of people have or had a relationship with a pet at some point in their lives. They either grew up with them or they currently have a dog or something else. And we thought it would be interesting to talk about that and maybe go into like what we can learn from like relationships with animals or even from them. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fun topic.
Yeah.
And since we tried to find a fun topic, which is not super depressing and like, I don't know.
Or causes anxiety or something like that.
Or it's just hard to talk about. We thought, let's talk about pets.
Yeah.
What was your first pet?
I had so many pets
But
growing
your
up.
first pet?
My first was a golden retriever. Her name was Claire.
Claire.
My parents got her before either of us were born, so before my brother was born too.
Mm-hmm.
They had her as a puppy, and she was a super naughty puppy, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
By the time we came around, or at least me, I think she was probably 6 or 7, I would guess. She was middle-aged.
Oh, okay. So
But she was the best dog. She was super good with kids, and she let me dress her up in like my dress-up clothes. And I used to act out the scene from Aladdin where Jasmine steps on Raja, the tiger's head, to get onto the tree. That poor dog, I used to act that scene out like I was Jasmine and the dog.
You stepped on her.
Yeah, she was laying on the floor, and I would step on her to get on the couch pretending I was Jasmine.
Wait,
She was just like, okay.
that's not cool.
Yeah.
That's right there. That's animal cruelty.
It's not. If she didn't like it or mind, she
would
wouldn't
say
let me
something
do it.
and she didn't say anything.
No, she wouldn't let me do it. It was like 6 or 7. I was this tiny little, not even. I was 5 or 6, I guess.
Okay. I guess the dog can handle that at that age.
Yeah. She was my first pet.
I had only one first pet. Or like, I didn't...
Really?
Yeah. No, I only had 3 pets. And no, that's not true. Actually, I had more. Yeah, I had more. But our first pet was a cat called Honey Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really cute and really, I don't know, special cat, I guess. He was around for 19 years, so pretty long, and he had the best life. And he was a really, I don't know, some cats can be really like loners, or like they come and eat and then they go, or they only like you when you feed them or when you give them food and then they go. But Honey Boy knew when you were sad. He tried to comfort you. He was just there. He was a snuggler. He loved to snuggle.
Oh, that's nice.
He was technically not allowed in our beds, but he just didn't give a shit, and we didn't really give a shit back then. But yeah, he was a really, really good pet. And I don't know. It was the perfect pet to have as a child. Even though he scared us sometimes, like when we
What do you mean?
when we went to like Croatia or like some other holidays for a couple of days, Usually some of our family members took care of him, but he knew that we were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes cats do that where they just are not showing up for a week.
Yeah.
And he did that every time we went somewhere. When we came home, it was a 50-50 chance that he would come back on the same day or like 2 or 3 days later. And I remember even one time we came back and he didn't show up for days. And then we found out that he was locked into a garage.
Aww.
Yeah, but he always made it home. And he died here in the house while we were sitting surrounding him. And actually his death day is coming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. I mean, he was 20 years old almost. So yeah, sure, I remember that.
Did you have any pets that weren't cats?
Yeah, I had two rabbits, but I don't really remember them that much. I was pretty small when we had them.
And they lived outside, didn't they?
They lived outside, and one of them froze to death, unfortunately, because in wintertime, he or she escaped and froze to death, and the other one then died afterwards because being lonely and stuff.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, but other than that, and then another cat, which is still alive right now.
Yeah. But he's the kind of cat that only likes you because you give him food. And as soon as you don't have food anymore, he's like, bye, peace out.
He had a troubled childhood. Yeah, like cat childhood. But he was, I think, in a litter of 8, I think, or 7 even. And he was the smallest one, and he had to fight for his food.
Yeah.
And so his craving for food comes from that. And also my sister nourished that so fucking hard. And yeah, he I don't know. He is a sweet little thing, but he can be annoying, and he asks for food all the time. Like all the time. He literally goes out, comes in food, goes out, comes in food all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. But you had mostly dogs.
No, I had everything. I never had a cat. Dogs were like the main thing. So we had the golden retriever, and then when she died, we got a Jack Russell Terrier, and he was the devil.
Oh yeah, Jack Russell.
It wasn't his fault. We think he had a brain disorder because he also had epilepsy or something along those lines, and he wasn't very nice to people. He was not a very nice dog. And then we got 2 basset hounds.
Oh yeah,
Lois and Lucy.
But Lucy had to go.
They fought too much, and they were from the same litter, and they fought all the time as they got older. And my mom and dad ended up finding a home for Lucy. I don't know how they came to the decision to get rid of her, not Lois. But Lucy was my favorite, I have to say. But then, because she was kind of the outcast, so I liked her. But Lois was legit the best dog in the world. So I'm super glad that we kept her. And she lived also very long until she was, I don't know, 12 maybe.
Oh, wow. That's long. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And she was very sweet. She also was one of those animals. She knew when you were sad. And sometimes we thought that she could see ghosts. At least my mom and I thought that. Either that or she was just sometimes really dumb.
I have the feeling with the dog right now too.
She was like, she would just stare. Dumb. She would just stare at the wall or like look up at the ceiling and just stare for so long. Or if I felt like I saw something, because my mom and I both had experiences like that in one apartment that we had. If I felt like I saw something, if I looked at her, she'd be looking in the same direction that I felt like I saw something.
Oh man.
So I feel like she could see things. But she was the best. She was so sweet. And like small animals, and we obviously would fish. And
fish. We had fish too, actually. Yeah.
We had fish as kids.
Goldfish.
And I had a guinea pig, and then my mom got a guinea pig because she loved mine so much. We made the mistake of putting them in the same cage, and then we had 6 guinea pigs because they had 4 babies. We ended up keeping 1, so we had 3 for a while. We had a bearded dragon.
Oh, that's fun.
Named Elvis. That was more my dad's pet. He was a class pet, and my dad would take him home in the summers, so he would stay with us. Okay.
So he stayed in the
But
classroom.
he was pretty tortured because, kids, my
Yeah.
dad taught at like 5th grade students or something, and he
Oh,
would
man.
tap on the glass sometimes. So he was pretty tortured.
Oh, man.
And my dad was the only person that he would let touch him. But he was cool. We had rats.
Oh, yeah.
My mom and I each had a rat. What else do we have? I think that's it from the animals. And then once I moved out, I got my own dog. I got a pit bull named Bailey.
Mhm.
We adopted her. She changed my whole world. Yeah. That's basically all my animals. But yeah, mostly dogs.
Billie Eilish has a pit bull.
I know.
Oh, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really cute. I don't know the name right now.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but
Yeah, it's a cute dog. Oh, Shark.
Shark.
Yeah, he looks really cute. Yeah, now we have a rat. Unfortunately, only one.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We talked about that in the previous episode. And we have a dog, which belongs to my mom. She's pretty old. And we have a cat, which is like in...
That's your sister's cat.
It's my
But he
sister's
lives here.
cat. Yeah, but he lives here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't get rid of him anymore. Nah.
And we want to get a dog for
Yeah.
our own dog. But yeah. But so like for you, is there something that like you personally learned or experienced, like something special that you experienced with your
No.
pet?
No.
Something that like sticks out to you?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing. Nah, sure. I mean, I think it's especially growing up with a pet and having a pet for so long, for such a continuous time. I mean, that pet was basically around from when I was 2 or 3
Yeah.
until I was 21. Yeah, 21. He was there for everything, and he was just there all the time, and it was just normal. It was a normal thing to have him around, to having him here, and
I mean,
and
they become a part of the family.
yeah, right. Not only family but life, and it was really hard when he was gone for some time, because it was just so normal. It was just, we never knew life without him at
Yeah.
that point. So having him not around anymore was pretty hard in the first couple of months. I would say like half a year even. And that is pretty significant for a pet, I think. And because just when you come home after school or after university or whatever it was, or work, he was just there. He was
Yeah.
waiting for you. He greeted you, and he was really like snuggly, and he didn't want food right away. So he came up to you and wanted to like get picked up, and wanted his pets and stuff. And every time he heard a car, and back then we had this distinct car which made this distinct noise when it came around the corner, and he knew he was just running. He was bolting up the driveway and was waiting in the front door. Stuff like that. I don't know. There's so much to having a pet for so long, and taking care of it, and knowing, or I don't know, knowing how to treat it well. Being sensitive in the sense that you have to listen to the pet sometimes, what it wants, what it needs. If it doesn't feel well, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we had to go to the doctor multiple times because he had to get stitches because he was fighting a lot. Meds, obviously. And then the last couple of months where we knew, okay, he's not going to be around any longer. And I don't know. It was a special thing. And I think he taught us a lot in terms of how to treat each other, treat animals, be patient, but also about death and dying. I mean, about losing someone or something that has been around for a long time. Yeah, I still miss him. He was such a good cat, and I would totally go back in time, steal him from myself, and come back and have him again for 20 years. Yeah. What about you?
Well, first I have to say I forgot to mention I also had a rabbit, and I can't believe I forgot my
yeah, Thumper.
sweet little Thumper. But for me, I've learned something different, I think, from every pet that I've had, but especially with the dogs.
Didn't the rabbit teach you French?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But for me, the thing that sticks out the most is how different their personalities are.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that to me is so, I think having so many different dogs and so many different pets, you really see different personalities. And like the best example is with Lois, one of my Basset Hound.
Mm-hmm.
She was smart, but she had such a weird little personality where she would just do weird things. Like she was scared of the smallest little things, where if we didn't want her to go into a room, we could put up this little wooden board that was less than an inch thick.
Oh, and she couldn't jump over
like
it?
3 to 4 inches tall.
Mm-hmm.
She could jump over it, but she wouldn't because she was just scared of it. And we could do the same with like a cable. We eventually learned that we can just lay a cable in front of a doorway and she wouldn't cross it.
That's funny.
And
that reminds me of the dog Astrid, who was always running around, and then they
the shoe.
they just put a old Converse shoe on his. They tied it to his collar, and so he had always the feeling that he was tied to something, so he never ran away anymore. So he always stayed on the property, even though it was wide open and he could just bolt out in the woods. Yeah. It's so funny how you can trick them.
But Lois would also do this thing where my brother very often would leave the gate open. Our house had we had a nice backyard, and we put a gate in the driveway so we could just let her out the back door. And he would always forget to check if the gate was closed when he opened the door. And
it's your brother.
And she was so funny because she would almost always go to the same place.
Oh, yeah, down the street.
She literally would just go around the corner and down the street. She wouldn't go to the street that's a busy street. She went the other way, and she would just go around the corner and sit in the neighbor's yard. So you would literally walk down the block and you'd just see her sitting in their yard, just staring at nothing.
And she liked it there. Maybe that was like her quiet place.
That's so funny. Yeah, she was a sweet dog. But I think every animal has their own personality and their own special characteristics that make them unique. I think that's so special.
That's true for any animal, I think, because if you get to know an animal, or if you see them a lot, or if you work with them or whatever, or if you have them, you learn how they behave, and you learn their character traits, and you learn how different they are to their siblings or to their friends or whatever.
Yeah.
Like with the chickens in the backyard.
Yeah.
They are so different, each of them. Yeah. One of them is always out. And
she always escapes their little pen. She just jumps out and walks around and then goes back.
Right. You can put her back, obviously, but she doesn't give a shit. So she jumps out again. And 3 of them always go on the fence at night and just
especially
snuggle.
During a storm. If it's raining, they're all sitting out in the storm on the ledge of the little gate
so
and just
weird.
sitting in the rain.
And they're each so weird because they come out when you walk out there and they greet you, and obviously are food motivated, but still they greet you, and they're all of them are so different. They're so different in a lot of ways. And with the rats, it was the same. I never had rats, and they're so
different.
First of all, they were different from the start, obviously, but how they evolved and how they changed, how their character changed through the years we had them, was pretty interesting. I mean, also they're super smart.
They're so
they don't
smart.
fuck around. They don't. You think they're random, but they know exactly what they're doing.
I mean, if anyone out there is thinking of getting a small pet or wants a pet, but can't afford the time for a dog or something, I highly recommend a rat. I know it sounds like it's not that exciting, but I mean, for someone who's had animals like guinea pigs and stuff, they're sweet, but I don't know. They're kind of on their own. They don't really connect with you that much. Yeah. Some maybe do, but in my experience, we had a lot of guinea pigs and they never really connected with you. They're always kind of shy and startled easily.
Yeah.
But with rats, they're so fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
And you get so attached to them, and they're super interested in things, especially females. They really want to explore. They climb all over you.
Yeah.
And they're super fun.
They're super smart. You can learn them tricks.
But please get at least 2 if you do get rats, because they get lonely.
Let's take a quick break, huh? Blake?
Blake?
Let's take a quick break.
Okay.
with a new episode of Translate. Oh no, that was already. No, but I think I don't know, pets can be really beneficial in a lot of ways, and I think we can also learn a lot from them for us and for our relationships with other people, friends or family or other relationships.
And we learn stuff from them outside of the obvious, maybe. So like there are things parents especially like to get small pets for their kids as like a way to teach them responsibility, taking care of something, which I think is great. But I think we even as adults learn so much from pets, and they give us so much that we don't really realize.
I mean, for example, the dog that we have right now is really, really, really going on my nerves sometimes, especially when she doesn't want to walk. And
she's like the only dog in the world who doesn't get excited to go for a walk.
She pushes my
buttons,
but not buttons. My, what is it called? My patience.
Oh, yeah.
She pushes my
patience. Your patience.
Yeah, right. Like to the limit sometimes. And, you just want to go outside and walk a little bit, get some steps and some fresh air. And she just stands around. Oh my God.
The best is when we're walking and she senses that someone's walking behind us.
Oh, man.
They could be so far behind us that they look like a speck. But she will stop and just stare at them until they turn a different way or they pass us.
Yeah.
She will not move.
Man, that dog is a special dog.
She is. But she also, I sense with her that she knows when you need her, and she knows when you're sad.
Yeah,
and
sure.
She knows when you're stressed. She approaches you differently when you're in a certain mood. And I like that about her.
That's true. Yeah, but we have some things written down that might be obvious to you, might not be obvious to you, that you should or you can or you already are adapting or from your pet or for having a pet. For example, forgive mistakes is one. And if you look at dogs or other animals, they usually don't hold grudges.
Usually.
Some do maybe. Some do maybe longer. Some do maybe not so long.
I mean, I'm thinking of my mom's dog.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's true.
Pickles, her name's Pickles. She's a Labradoodle. I wouldn't necessarily say she holds a grudge.
She doesn't hold a grudge.
But if my mom doesn't do something
she's very upset.
That Pickles is used to, Pickles is very smart and she has a routine.
Yeah.
And if that routine gets slightly off base or like even just a few minutes behind, she's hyper aware of that, and she will just not stop bugging my mom until it happens.
I mean, yeah, right. And I think that brings us to another one, is like celebrate time together and also be excited to see each other. Because I don't know, we sometimes forget, especially nowadays it's not so because we don't see people that often. But when we are like in the normal life, we see people a lot, and we tend to we are precious of the time, but maybe not as excited about it as we should be or as grateful as we should be. And that's also something that like animals can teach us, because some of them are really excited if they see you again, even after 5 minutes of being away. And they just love you being around. Some, not all, obviously.
But I would say at least with dogs for the most part, I think that's almost always the case.
Yeah,
when you come home, they're super excited to see you.
I think cats too,
or even if you
if
just say hello to them. You might have already been home, but if they were in another room and you go in and you say hi, they wag their tail, they get all excited. Yeah. I think that's super sweet.
Another thing is, I think walking in general or going outside, especially with a dog, obviously, or you have like maybe a horse or something. But it's so nice to just have a reason to go out. And even if you don't have a dog, we, for example, try to get in 10,000 steps every day, which makes us walk, even though it's fucking cold or raining or whatever. And it's the same with a dog. You have to get outside. You have to be active. And that's awesome. And I think that's something you should also be doing, even if you don't have a pet that forces you outside.
The next one is embrace the power of silence.
I think, that basically speaks for itself, but I don't know, sometimes you don't have to talk about everything, paying attention, just being with each other, just feeling you and your partner or your dog or whatever animal is nice. Just like chilling on the couch, laying next to each other, spending time together, or, you know, stroking the cat or the dog and just giving it pets. It's nice too. You don't have to talk.
I mean, it's super therapeutic.
Right. It's nice.
Like
it brings
laying
you
on a
down.
couch and snuggling a dog and just petting them. It's so therapeutic.
Right. And it's the same thing with showing love in big and small ways. I mean, that's what we just said. A dog, for example, you can just go into a room and say hello and pet it a little bit, and it's so excited.
Even something as simple as you're sitting on the couch and the dog comes and lays next to you. Even that's like it's small gesture, but it's such a big sign of affection. Or just a little
treat, for example, or like a little toy that you get for the dog once in a while. I mean, that's something that you can adopt. Another one, I love that one, is be yourself. RuPaul said, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell you gonna love somebody else? And I think that's pretty cool, because we talked about that in Loving Yourself, or whatever that episode was called.
Yeah.
But a pretty big thing is that you should accept yourself how you are. And I think the dog helps you with that. Or
I think any animal, I don't think, I mean, obviously we're not inside their heads, but I would guess that animals don't like try to be anyone other than themselves. They're just purely who they are.
Yeah.
And you see that in how they act every day. You see that in exactly what I was talking about before, that they all have their own personalities and they show that. And I think that that's super special, because you can learn from that, and you can say, okay, you clearly don't give a shit what people think about you.
Yeah.
I shouldn't either.
I think another one is a really nice one is lower your expectations.
Yeah, I mean, that goes along with one of the other ones that we said, but with the example of dogs, because I think that's the most relatable.
Yeah.
They don't hold a grudge on you, and they forgive easily. And so it's kind of like if you are having a hard day, or if you're working a lot, they don't hold a grudge against you, or they don't blame you for...
They give you the benefit of the doubt.
Right. And you don't have to explain yourself to the dog. They just love you anyways.
Right. And I think that's something super unique. If you look at relationships in general, it's super hard to just step over your self-pride, your the thing that makes you angry and keeps you angry, and or makes you believe that you're right and you have to be right, or you have to win that fight, or whatever it is that keeps you from just stepping over it and saying, hey, fuck the whole thing, it doesn't really matter. And with dogs, I mean, you can see how it works, because they are not like that. You don't come home and they tell you, hey, you said that in the morning, you did that in the morning, and you're like, oh, god damn it, fucking dog remembers. they maybe they remember, but they don't give a shit. And they show you that they don't give a shit. They love you like they always love you. And that's a super nice thing, I think.
Yeah. Another really important one is give each other unconditional love.
Yeah.
And that also, I think, goes along with all of them, where they love you no matter what. I mean, obviously, I'm not talking about people who abuse their pets, because that's a different story. But even then, I think those dogs who are abused, and animals who are abused because they're so dependent on humans, I think they still have some sort of connection and compassion for those people. Yeah. But if you abuse any animal, you're an asshole and you deserve to be locked up. Just want to say that. But they really do show you unconditional love. And I mean, the best example is if your dog does something they're not supposed to do, like if they pee on the carpet or they poop in the house or something, and you scold them for it, or they chew up furniture, or whatever it is, and you scold them for it, they know that they did something wrong, but you also are so quick to forgive your dog or your pet, because you know that it's not their fault, or they're learning, or it's just they made a mistake, and you're so quick to forgive them. And it's the same, they're so quick to forgive you.
Right.
And I think that's something that we can take into our relationships.
By the way, I chewed up your
You chewed up my ukulele.
Yeah, both.
Okay, we're going to talk about that later. You're going to be scolded.
Can you forgive me?
You're going to rub your nose in it. What did you do? Look at that.
Yeah, I needed something to chew on, and
Okay.
the uke was, light wood and
That's
easy to
nice.
chew on.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's something we can take into our relationships where, especially with the little things, we're human, we make mistakes, and there's no real need to turn to anger, and there's no need to, shut someone out for, hours on end, or not speak
Right.
to them, or yell at each other
Right.
over such small things. You can be upset by it, but then you can just let it go and forgive it. And
Let it go.
I think
Let it go.
I think that's really that's a really unique lesson that we can learn from pets.
What is it? Let it go. Let it go. Let's build a snowman.
Yep.
Okay.
That's not what it is. But
No, but in general, I think pets are super important for kids, in my opinion, because I grew up with a pet, and I gained so much knowledge, I gained so much compassion, and I gained so much a love for an animal. And it's such a small thing can have such a huge impact in your life. And even with the rats, or the rat we still have, it's the same thing. No matter how small or big they are, they can be such a nice addition in a really, I don't know, empty and dreadful life.
wow. But I will say, it is really insane. I mean, I had rats as a kid, but I was too young, I think, I wasn't super young, but I was young enough that I don't really remember too much about how I felt about them. I remember them being around, and I remember their names and what they looked like, but
Yeah.
I don't remember too much about like their individual personalities and stuff. But having rats now, I'm blown away by how much of an impact they have on my life,
Yeah.
and how such a tiny little thing can be so funny and so weird
Yeah.
and sweet. It's just, there's so much personality packed into this tiny little creature,
Yeah.
and you just love them so much. It's insane.
Yeah, it's a good pet to have.
Yeah. And also, I would love to hear like a funny pet story.
Oh, yeah, that
so
would be
if you
fun.
have a funny pet story, like something weird that your pet does, or something, or even just a sweet pet story, something sweet that your pet did for you, or that you think is nice, I like those stories. So
That's a good idea.
you can either like send us a voice message
Or
on
Instagram.
Anchor, or a message on Instagram at Translating Love Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would love that. I love hearing stories like that.
Again, please share the podcast if you can. It would help us a lot. And like or subscribe and rate it on Apple Podcast. And we hear each other soon. Bye.
Bye.